Alrighty, so first of all, I do apologize that this review is relatively late. I have had a lot of errands to run these last couple of days, so hence it is now finally time for me to do the review looking at the last seven game, and in some cases, we're looking at games that happen all the way back on Saturday. This is why I don't usually wait till Tuesday to do review because it feels like it's almost an eternity that since we have had some of these games that happen just a couple of days ago. But as the old saying goes, it's better late than never in terms of doing the review. And let's jump straight in by talk about the first game between the Houston Dynamo versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. And there was a very scary incident that happened in this game that kind of really overshadowed in terms of the fact that this was a very impressive win for the Houston Dynamo. And as I said, we know that Houston, there's times where they could show up and do well, even against some of the better team in the league, and they definitely did that in this one. Now, in the first half, Ocampo actually struck the post after just 9 seconds into this game. So, had that went in, that would have been, I believe, the fastest goal scored this season and one of the fastest goal we've ever seen in league history. But of course, the post denied us that. The first shot for the Dynamo did see Reich hit sit wide from the corner, and then Berhalter put it in the back of net. Problem was on the redirection there, yeah. I think it was actually off of one of the Vancouver play that had the rejection. I'm not quite sure who exactly it. Again, this has been a couple of days since this happened. I might have forgot some things that happened in this game, but yeah, that player was in an offside position. So as a result, the goal was chopped off. But there was no doubt Vancouver was the better team in this one. They were in control, looking to try to get the opener, and then this is where we saw the scary incident. So yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what caused this from Semiseko, where, when he fell down on the ground, he was unconscious. And that's why you saw a lot of the players on both team immediately wave the medical staff to come onto the pitch. And it got so scary, the fact that they actually had to not only bring out the stretcher out, but they had to bring out the ambulance as well. So when that happened, there's something scary that has happened. And I'm not quite sure, is this happened because when both him and Blackman was going for the same ball, maybe Sevenseiko got the worst of it, or the fact that when he landed awkwardly there on the turf, it looks like he landed with his head first, and when you land your head first onto the ground, yeah, that is not a good feeling. That has concussion written all over it. So my best wishes is to Semiseko. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery. They did get an update that when he was taken to the local hospital, he was okay, and that yeah, just very scary incident. Hope for his best, but because of that, it had a long time before we restarted playing. In fact, we had 14 minutes of stoppage time as a result of this. But by the time the play does restart, Berhalter will puts it high from the top of the arc before Tacoca denied Guilherme from close. Guilherme then missed wide from close in the 41st minute, as now the Dynamo started to get a foothold into this game. I'm pretty sure they're definitely playing for one of the player that just got stretcher off in this one, and that they're definitely motivated to try to get all 3 points for him. Bogusz would then hit it right to Tacoca before Laborda would hit it right to Bond. Burzat would then miss wide from close range in the 8th minute stoppage time, as both of these teams were definitely pushing to try to get themselves the opening goal. Remember, there's 14 minutes of stoppage time. There was still a lot of time left for both of these teams to get themselves a late opener in the first half. But we do head to the first half after that 14-minute stoppage time with the score scoreless. In the second half, not much really happened in the beginning of the second half. Takogo would deny Ponce, but he did allow a rebound and was very fortunate that there was no player around him, so he smothered that one. But then he got sent off in the 64th minute, and apparently this is a doxo foul that he committed. I don't know about that. I feel like that one was kind of away from the ball, and we saw something similar in the later part of the game that kind of makes you question. Well, if that was not considered doxo, then maybe this probably shouldn't be considered doxo either. But either way, the call on the field is doxo, so Takoka was sent off. So they had to bring in the backup goalkeeper Isaac Bolt for had to coming into this one. Tay Johnson, of course, is the sacrifice as a resort. And then the 70th minute, it looked like Ponce got the opener. It looks like the Dynamo immediately capitalized with them being up a man in this one. But the problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal, of course, was chopped off for offside. Bond would then deny Mulif from long range before Guilherme was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Isaac Ballmer. So if you wonder, how what the confidence is for Isaac Ballmer coming into this one, this is his first appearance of the season. It's never easy for a backup goalkeeper to be straight right into the game without even properly warming up. And let's just say up to this point he was pretty good. But there was no doubt the Dynamo continued to threaten on the counter. But again, can they finally able to get themselves a goal as a result? We know this team is very dangerous on the transitional play. We saw it a couple of weeks against LAFC. They literally hit LAFC on the counter to death, and that's kind of the reason why they got that big win away from BMO Stadium. Guilherme with then hits it wide from close range. Oh, did I say Felipe also missed wide from close? If I haven't said, that happened in the 74th minute. Houston continued to look for the winner. It feels like Vancouver, they're just kind of crawling to the end to try to get a point, and it's understandable. You know, this is the third game in 7 day for most teams. Although I think Vancouver did get the middle of the week off this week, so technically this is not the third game in 7 days. But still, you know, this is still a very tired Vancouver team, and you know, anytime when you play away to Houston, you know the humility is going to cause an effect to the opposition, especially when they have to defend with just 10 men. Artur would then hits it right to Bomer in the third-minute stoppage time, but then the 6 minute stoppage time, Houston gets the opening goal as Guilherme would score from Artur to make it 1-0 in favor of Houston. And while it was a great strike from Guilherme himself, yeah, Isaac Bomer will want to have this one back. So I mentioned how Bomer looked like he was sharp earlier. He was not as sharp at this moment. This was one that he knows he's got to do much better there. It wasn't really hit too much power in that near post by Guilherme. He actually got a hand to it, but not enough to keep it out. And as a result, that was the winner of this game. As the Dynamo does get the 1-0 win in this one, they only hand Vancouver their second loss of the season. The shots in this one, 14 shots committed, 9 that Vancouver has, 3 shots on goal committed, 7 that Houston had, 4 shots off target committed, 3 that Vancouver has, 1 shot on the block committed, 3 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the Whitecaps has in this game. So yeah, again, the Houston Dynamo, they continue to do this. This is the thing about this team when you face against a Dynamo side that it's like a mystery box every single week. You just don't know which version you're gonna get, and for the most part, it was a pretty good version of a Houston Dynamo team. They pretty much shut down the Whitecaps for most part of the game, and it also helped the fact that they play up a man for the remaining off the second half, or at least for a little bit. But yeah, big win for the Dynamo. But for the Vancouver Whitecaps, you know, I talk about teams that kind of crawling their way to the World Cup, right? You can maybe say that that might be the same with the Whitecaps. Again, this is another team that's dealing with injuries and have played a lot of games if you include those Canadian Championship games that they're about to endure. So they're definitely hoping that they can regroup once they get into the World Cup break. In fact, pretty much all of these teams that are near the top of the Western Conference are really. I mean, when you look at the last couple of weeks, most of these teams are in the top four. They have been riding the struggle bus, and we talked about earlier how it feels like some of these teams were running away in the West, but now it feels like some of the teams near the middle of the pack is starting to catch up to them because some of these top teams have just kind of struggled in these last couple of games. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, is Seattle and the Galaxy. So Seattle is one of those teams that I mentioned, you know, some of these teams in the top four that's kind of reeling a bit. But again, for the Galaxy, this is the same thing I said about Houston. I just don't get this team. Like I honestly don't, and I'm pretty sure Galaxy fans don't get this team either. Of how in the world did they look so poor against Sporting KC, and yet somehow in some way against a Sounders team that, keep in mind, coming into this game, they have not lost a home game for a while. In fact, I think they said something like 22 or 23 game unbeaten streak coming in to this one at Lumen Field against the Galaxy. That came to an end in this one. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Mark Sinkowski deny Muswowski from close as the Sounders were on the front foot earlier, but can they get themselves the early lead in this one? Royce with the Galaxy first shot, but he puts that one high. But now the second shot for the Galaxy, it's in the back of the net as Gabriel Peck continue his red hot form lately as he scored from Royce and Yamane to make it 1-0 in favor of the Galaxy, and that was vintage Marco Royce there. We know how special Marco Royce could be. I mean, we don't usually see it as much as often, but when he turned back the clock, which he did in this moment, I mean, you just kind of been reminded how special of a player he was doing his time in the Bundesliga and even with the German national team. But yeah, he just put him a slip line ball right to Peck, and the way that Peck has definitely done much better lately compared to the beginning of the season, you know he's going to bury that one. So yeah, the Galaxy were up to a 1-0 shot lead early in this one. Nuhu would then look to respond, but he hits it right to Marcinkowski. Keep in mind, this is something that is not unfamiliar for the Sounders. They have been trailing a lot, at least the last couple of games. In fact, the last three home games that they play, I believe they gave up the first goal. They gave up the first goal against San Diego. They gave up the first goal against the San Jose Earthquakes, and now they gave up the first goal against the LA Galaxy. But you just kind of sense maybe it's the Sounders are going to find a way to come back from this. They have done, at least in the last two games. In the second half, Ariola would miss wide off of a redirection before Rusnak puts it wide from close range. Seattle continued to be on the front foot again, and once again trying to get the equalizer. But Marcinkowski was making sure that's not going to happen because JT make a huge save here to rob Ariola on a free header in the back post. Ariola couldn't believe that JT make that save. Royce would then curls one that hits the side netting there. Or actually, no, he didn't curl one here. He actually rounds the keeper here, but hits that one into the side netting. He kind of lost his angle as well. That also came off of a lightning counter attack. That was something that the Sounders had a lot of issue in this one. And keep in mind, the Galaxy, they are a team that can be dangerous on the counterattack. I mean, when you have guys like Painso and Peck running down your throat, yeah, it's no surprise that they are very dangerous whenever they go on the counter. Peck would then try to backheel one, and it actually hits the post. That would have been such a cheeky finish there from Gabriel Peck, just to show you how much confidence he has compared to the beginning of the season. Di Rosario would then puts it wide from long range before Rothrock would hit it right to Marcinkowski in the 82nd minute. In the 84th minute, Gomez would miss wide on the curler, and you just kind of had a sense, is this one of those days again for the Seattle Sounders? They have had these kind of questions, at least in the last two games, where their finishing has just not been there for them. Again, this is a team that has not scored a lot of goals this season, even though they're right up there in the standings. And yeah, in this game it was once again that issue again, just could not put the ball into the back of the net. Morris would then hits it right to Marcinkowski in the 89th minute, but then the second minute of stoppage time, Nascimento called game. So he scored here from Peck and Cirillo to make it 2-0 in favor of the Galaxy, and that's the final score of this game. For the first time in almost a year, the Seattle Sounders have lost a home game. That 23 game unbeaten streak, which, Sounders fan, you can correct me in the comment section if I'm actually wrong about that, but that unbeaten streak has now come to an end after this one. Shots in this one, 15 shots for the 8 that the Galaxy had, 2 shots on goal for the 5 that the Sounders had, 6 shots off target for the 3 that the Galaxy had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that the Galaxy has in this game. And I'm also not surprised that the Sounders unbeaten streak at home came to an end, because you just kind of sense that when you look at how this team have played in the last couple of games, there's just something off about the Sounders team, especially the attack. I mean, with all the attacking talent that this team has, it just feels like they're missing something, especially with that clinical finishing. I mean, there's not really a lot of players on this team that have shown that clinical finishing, and it has hurt them in a very bad way. But then again, this could also might due to fatigue as well, and that, as I said, a lot of these top teams, they are definitely reeling right now, and just cannot wait until they get to the World Cup break to regroup a bit, because again, for a lot of these teams, they have played a lot of games, and I'm pretty sure for these top teams, they're feeling that pressure of have to keep playing and keep winning so that they can keep themselves up in the standings. And when that happens, that's where you start to see mistakes start to appear. And we definitely saw it with the Sounders team in this game, and even in the game that Vancouver had against the Houston Dynamo. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is RSL and the Colorado Rapids. So here comes RSL again. They had their rough patch a while ago, but it seems like they're starting to climb up in the Western Conference again, because a lot of teams have been failing to get points near the top. But in the first half, Cabral would deny Aronson in the near post before Aronson heads it wide from the corner in the third minute stoppage time. I thought the Rapids actually start well in this Rocky Mountain Cup. They looked like they were on the front foot to try to get the opener, and they were rewarded in the 7th minute as Wayne Frederick would score from Aronson and Ronan to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. Salons didn't look to respond, but it was deflected wide, and then Gladwin heads it right to Hansen in the 16th minute. Hansen then denied Hezekani from close range, as I thought RSL kind of woke up a bit. It feels like that opening goal they can see was a wake-up call. They had a good response, trying to get themselves the equalizer now. Hansen would then deny Sanabria, but it did fall to Gozo, and he just missed that one wide. That is one that you don't usually see Xavier Gozo miss, especially of how hot he's lately. Speaking of goals, though, he would then hits one right to Hansen in the 29th minute before Hizakani heads it high, or heads it right to Hansen in the 33rd minute as RSL continue to pile on the pressure. But the question is, can they find that finishing? That's been something that we have seen before at home. They have had their issue when it comes to finishing. Well, they finally found it in the 36th minute as Gozo. Of course, it has to be him. He's been red hot lately, so he scored here from Salons to make it 1-1 in this one. This also come off a bad turnover from the Rapids. That's not a surprise. I mean, this is a team that has given up a lot of goals because of turnover, and that's kind of what happened when you decide to play out of the back. This team love to do so, and there's always that risk of playing out of the back where if you don't be careful, you're going to turn the ball over more times or not, and this team definitely and the fair share of them, and fair share of them ends up into the back of the net. So yeah, that ties the game up at one apiece. That would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, Hamza would hits one right to Cabral before Navarro hits one that was actually spilled by Cabral and almost should go in. So yeah, Cabral must be thanking his lucky start because that would not be a great moment for the RSL netminder that for most of this year has been pretty solid. But just like the first half, I thought the Rapids started well. Whatever Matt Wells have said to this team, it definitely worked because they definitely come out the second half the much stronger side. Though that didn't last though because Yetlin would then puts it over from close to the 63rd minute, but then the 68th minute, RSL takes the lead for the first time as Sergey Solans, a guy that has kind of gone for a little bit of a goal drought. I mean, it's crazy to say that that's the case. Consider how red hot he started his season, but he kind of had gone for a little bit of a goal drought. Now they got another one here, this time from the header from Sanabria and glad to make it 2-1 in favor of RSL. Gozo then looked for another, but he hits it right to Hansen before Sanabria puts it wide on the free kick. As RSL, they smell blood. They want this third goal to put this Rocky Mountain Cup tie away. Though, as I said that, Frederick would miss wide on the header, and then Mayama would miss wide from long range. And here comes the Colorado Rapids. The Rapids, they're saying not so fast because the right now it seems like they're trying to press late to try to get the equalizer, but they aren't able to do so. As RSL does hold on to win the first edition of the Rocky Mountain Cup with a 2-1 result. The shots in this one, 17 shots for the 8 that the Rapids had, 4 shots on goal for the 8 that RSL had. Both teams had 4 shots off target, 4 shots that was blocked for the none that Colorado has in possession wise. 53% possession compared to 47% possession that RSL has in this game. I thought this game was kind of even in the most part. It feels like in this game both halves seems like the Rapids were the better side, but it feels like as longer this game goals without the Rapids scoring or them not adding on, that's when RSL got stronger in both halves, and that's kind of the difference in this one. They finished the half with a much stronger side, and more times than not, when you do that, that usually does lead to a team potentially getting all 3 points, which is exactly what we saw RSL did in this one. Now, moving on into the last game on this board before I switch the board one more time, is San Diego versus FC Cincinnati. So this game was absolutely bananas. But of course, it is the case. I mean, if you're an FC Cincinnati fan, or if you watch FC Cincinnati game, which if you're a neutral and you love goals, I suggest you should watch every FC Cincinnati game, or maybe even check out the last couple of FC Cincinnati game because for them this feels like it's Tuesdays for them. I mean, it is kind of bonkers of how many crazy games that they play and how I even said that I don't even have to worry about that jinx where I always said in my preview the fact that it's a high scoring game and it turns out to be the other thing when I talk about FC Cincinnati game because I swear they do this every single game where somehow in some way the high end talent always bail them out despite the fact that this team should be arguably one of the worst team in the league because of how bad this defense is. Now in the first half, Pellegrino tried to chip Celtano there off his lines, but he missed wide, and the reason why that happened is because Cincinnati give the ball away. That's been a common theme this season, and is one of the reasons why their defense has been so bad. They're committing way too many of these WTF turnover that they get punished, and yeah, they were very lucky to not get punished in this moment. In fact, in the 11th minute, on the first shot of the game for Cincinnati, it's in the back of the net as Obuma Dem would score from Evander to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. And like I said, that high end talent on the attack with Evander just really cooking right now, look like an MVP form Evander that we've seen from last season as well. I mean, that's kind of the reason why Cincinnati has been able to maintain good pace despite they have a lot of issue defensively. But yeah, that gives Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. Pellegrino looked to respond, but missed wide in the 5th minute before Dwyer would miss wide from close in the 16 minutes. I thought it was a good response for San Diego. They're trying to push to get themselves the equalizer. Ingvartson would then hit it wide from close range before Faree would deny Evander from close on the other end in the 27th minute. Celtano then denied Dwyer on the nut post, and then Ingvartson would hit it wide from the corner in the 36th minute. But then in the 32nd minute, or I'm sorry, not the 36th, but in the 30th minute, that is. But in the 32nd minute, San Diego eventually make that pressure paid off. You knew this was coming. They were putting a lot of pressure on the Cincinnati side, and who else but Marcus Igmarsson, who has just been one of the more underrated number 9 in this league. I don't feel like a lot of people give him enough credit of how good he's been this season. And this is not a big surprise because when San Diego brought him, they were expecting this version of Ingvarsson. And the reason why he wasn't that version last season is because he spent more time on the IR than actually on the pitch. So what happened when he's not spending time on the IR every single week? Well, he scored goals. So he scored here from Sargent and Valakari to give the equalizer for San Diego, and that would be the scoreline heading into halftime with this game tied up at 1 apiece. In the second half, though, Faree would deny Evander on the free kick, but then 1 minute later, Tom Barlow would score. So he scored from Evander here to give Cincinnati the lead back, and yeah, it was not great set piece defending whatsoever from Cincinnati. I mean, it was a great delivery from Evander. Of course, you expect like that, but Barlow was just left wide open there. That should not happen. And again, this is another reason why I said coming into this game, I'm not surprised that this could be a high scoring game because both of these teams have been very bad defensively. But at the same time, both of these teams are very good on the attack. So you probably know what that formula equals after this game. In the 62nd minute, Valakari would look to answer, but he missed wide from long range in the 62nd minute. But then in the 66th minute, San Diego does equalize as Amal Pellegrino. He scored from Soma and McVeigh to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And I'm immediately wrote, yep, this is definitely a Cincinnati game. We've seen this story many times before where they play some of the most crazy games this week, where every single game there's got to be at least 5 or 6 goals because that's just how Cincinnati game roll. And then Pellegrino tried to give the lead for San Diego, but he missed just wide after just another bad turnover from Cincinnati. I mean, they were just a turnover machine on the defensive end all night long. K would then hits one right to Fury in the 72nd minute before Barlow puts it high from close range in the 76th minute, as Cincinnati was definitely pressing back to try to get the lead again. Though, as I said that, Saltano would deny Valakari off of a training ground routine. In fact, he didn't just deny Valakari, he absolutely robbed him there off of a training ground routine. But then the 6 minute of stoppage time, Ingvarsson would score here and actually erase some of the notes there. But I believe he got this assist from Soma here to give San Diego the free two lead in the 6 minute stoppage time. But again, if you know about Cincinnati games, is that chaos is the name of the game because as much as in any other games you think that might be the winning goal and that San Diego look like they get all 3 points. Well, you should not underestimate the grit and the determination of the Cincinnati team. I mean, they do this all the time. And Lauren Behold, literally just as the game kicked off again, Cincinnati gone on the other end, and they tie the game up at 3 apiece. I mean, I sound like this is not almost like an everyday stuff because it is. I'm actually not surprised. Like if you're watching Cincinnati for the first time, you might be surprised that this is the case. You might think it's a crazy game, but because of the fact that I watch every single game, including watching every Cincinnati game, I'm not surprised that this happened. I mean, they do this every single week. I just don't know how they keep doing this and how they've been able to come back from crazy position like this. But yeah, they score here from a Jabari there to tie the game up at 3 apiece, and San Diego just completely switched off. They thought that they won this game, and I don't blame them because when San Diego scored that goal in the 6 minutes of stoppage time, we only had 6 minutes of stoppage. I mean, I would have thought that maybe the referee was just going to bowl full time, but no, he allowed Cincinnati to get one more attack, and San Diego just wasn't prepared for it whatsoever. They completely switched off, and they were punished because of that, and as a result, in a wild game that we saw, as you usually see in a Cincinnati game. It ends free in this one. The shots in this one: 17 shots for the 8 that Cincinnati has, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that San Diego has, 7 shots off target for the 1 that Cincinnati has, 1 shot was blocked for the 4 that San Diego has, and possession wise, 59% possession for the 41% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And I'm not quite sure if either of these head coaches is going to be happy in this resort. I mean, maybe Cincinnati. Maybe Pat Nolan will once again tells everybody that they had the grit and the determination to salvage something that looked like they were on verge of getting nothing out of this game. But at the same time, again, the same problem for Cincinnati I've said every single week is still there. Their defense is absolutely horrendous, and it's this feels kind of unsustainable of how they keep have to rely on their high end talent to kind of bail them out week in and week out. And for San Diego, I mean, they got that 10 game unbeaten streak finally come to an end, which feels like a happy thing. And then they were on verge of getting back to back wins, but you just simply cannot concede in the 98th minute after you score in the 96th. I mean, no matter what kind of circumstances or which opponent you're facing, either at home or on the road, that is an absolute gut punch to score what looked like the winning goal of the game, and then immediately switched off on the other end and let the other team tie it up and only got a point this game. But that being said, I am now going to manually switch the board because again, no need to really switch the board or stop the video to switch the board when you can just do this manually. And now we'll talk about the other late West Coast game. This is actually the last game that happened in the West Coast. The only 7:30 start between the San Jose Earthquakes versus FC Dallas, and this one also had a crazy ending as well. And as much as coming out of this game, I could definitely be left very frustrated of how the Quakes performed because this kind of felt like a little bit of last season Quakes, especially of how they defended in this game. I just want to quickly say, I love Sam Sarver. I've said before that I've been a big fan of Sam Sarver even before for this moment that he did because he's kind of a guy that he gives me a very Steven Lenhart kind of vibe, that very kind of crazy vibe as well. And heck, I would even say that they kind of almost look familiar, especially with the hair that is because I know Lenny had the crazy wig as well, similar to what Sam Sarver is trying to do. But man, I'll tell you what, Sam Sarver, he's an absolutely national treasure, and he is a guy that I think if you are the true sicko of MLS, you would definitely adore him of what he's been doing, and especially just a legendary celebration that he did that really was the story coming out of this one. Now in the first half, just 1 minute into this game, in fact, about 57 seconds into this game, Dallas takes the lead as Patterson Delgado would give Dallas a 1-0 lead, and yeah, the Quakes again they went back to last season defending. In fact, the 3 goals that the Quakes conceded in this game really reminds me of last season defending. There's a reason why this team conceded so many goals last season because of just some really dumb defensive mistake, and this was an example of it where I think it was Reed Roberts, the one just kind of cleared it right in back into the path of Delgado. And as good as Reed Roberts has been in this beginning season, it feels like he's kind of went back to his pumpkin form last season, and there's a reason why I many Quakes fans kind of question why in the world does he get minutes every single game. And while this season he's kind of proving me wrong a little bit, he's kind of unfortunately proving me once again right with how he's been performing the last couple of games. But yeah, just like that, Dallas took a 1-0 lead. Musa then looked for another, but he heads it wide in the 8th minute as Dallas definitely started off as the better side. And this is one of the rare times that the Quakes did not start on time. How many times this season I always say that a Bruce Arena San Jose Earthquake side always starts on time, and it was kind of bizarre to see them not start on time. But at the same time, it also looked very similar to last season Quakes team as well, because a lot of last season Quakes team are usually teams that don't start on time whatsoever. But in the 13th minute, Harks with the Quakes first shot, but he hits it right to see Wasp. But then in the 18th minute, the Quakes does tied the game up as Bo LaRue, also known as Banger LaRue. I know that sounds like a very cringe kind of name, but I'm gonna call him Banger LaRue because he's been scoring a ton of bangers lately there, and he absolutely ripped a banger from a volley there to give the equalizer for the San Jose Earthquake. Judd then looked for another, but he puts this one over. But there was no doubt the momentum was with the Quakes. Now that they're looking to try to get themselves the lead, Daniel would deny Marino on the top of the arc before he denied Valente from close range. So yeah, just as I said, that maybe the Quakes had the momentum. Dallas is not so fast because they're starting to creating some chances, but they did give away a penalty not long after the Valente shot, as it was Irrigate, the one that brought down Harks from the spot. So here comes Bolarut, a chance to bury the penalty. Remember, usually the penalty kick taker is Nico Jaqueras or Timo Werner. Both of them are not available in this one, so it's up to Bolarut, a chance to bury from the spot. I can kind of tell that he's not a guy that usually take penalties because yeah, this was not a great penalty from Bolarut. I mean, C. Ross did a good thing to guess the right way, but it was just not good penalty. He didn't put it in the corner enough where even if Siwas gets the right way, he wouldn't be able to save it. So yeah, the game remains tied at one apiece, and that was huge because heading into the second half, Dallas got the lead back just 5 minutes in. As Pedro Musa, he's inevitable. Like you knew every single game Pedro Musa is gonna get on the score sheet. He scored here from Johansson and Valente to tie the game up, or I'm sorry, not tie the game up, but give Dallas the lead back again. It's bit of a been a tired day for me. So yeah, I do apologize if I do misspoke it a couple of times. But yeah, once again, the Quakes kind of went back to last season defensive form. I mean, just not good enough defensively. Right there. I mean, you cannot let Musa get to a 50-50 ball first, especially in the box, because if that happens, yeah, he's gonna get to it and he's probably gonna bury it into the back end net, and that's exactly what happens. Judd did look to respond, but he was denied by Siwas. Kikanovic would then miss wide from close in the 58th minute. Again, I thought it was a good response for the Quakes. They're now trying to push the tie in again. Roberts would then head it right to Siwas before Daniel denied Delgado from close on the other end. Siwas then denied Judd from close range, and then LaRue had another long range effort that this time was denied by Siwas, but it was relentless pressure that the Quakes were putting. Dallas was really going in row Heathmo, and you know what happened when you go row Heathmo when you're playing on the road, especially if this is the third game in 7 days. Yeah, you're not going to hold on, and that's exactly what happened. As in the 81st minute, Reed Roberts scored his first career MLS goal, and I don't know if he knows a lot about this because this corner was kind of pinball around a bit, but Roberts was there in the right place to just kind of almost test that one down, kind of Clint Dempsey style as well. But yeah, that ties the game up at two apiece. Kind of expected as well because the Quakes were putting so much pressure. Dallas just cannot release the ball or had some control up to this point. Though Farrington did look to answer, but his shot goes right to Danielle. They do a brief check to see whether or not if Kikanovic foul here was deemed serious foul play, which VAR says no, and I think it's the right call. I don't think that is worth a red card. In fact, I say serious foul play. It was actually more of a doxo foul. Again, this one very similar to the one that Takaoka got a red card in terms of that because this one was kind of away from the goal as well. I mean, yes, even though some might say that it could be doxo because maybe Kikanovic was last man because of the fact that he was kind of away from the goal. I mean, you can't really call Dogso if he is heading toward away from the goal. So yeah, no red card was shown. A yellow instead was shown here. Daniel then absolutely robbed Irgide, but then it falls to Johansson, and he had a chance to bury this one, but Daniel was right there to deny him. I mean, the Quakes they continue to be very leaky, and that's disappointing because after them getting the equalizer, I thought the momentum was with the Quakes. I thought they were gonna really push on to trying to get the lead for the first time, but instead Dallas would get the lead for the third time, and this time for good. And guess what? Guess who scored this goal? It's none other than the legend and the myth and the legend that known as Sam Sarver. He scored from Kaike and Irrigate to make it 3-2 in favor of Dallas. And as much as I am kind of disappointed of how the Quakes conceded here because they just completely switched off after Vieira just went down with an injury, even though it wasn't an injury. I mean, why in the world did he decide to lay down on the ground thinking that the referee's going to stop the play when it's not a head injury whatsoever? I would never know. But yeah, the Quakes completely switched off as a result. Never picked up Sarver there, and yeah, when you let Sarver have a 1v1 opportunity, more times than not, he's gonna bury that one, and then he follow up by doing the scuba dive celebration, and then he also decided to pick up a beer that was chucked down. Yeah, he did that in front of the San Jose Ultra. They're definitely one of the more notorious fan fan support group that is not afraid to throw stuff to opposing players when they score. I mean, obviously, I'm definitely not happy the fact that they did that. You know my opinion when it comes to fans chucking stuff onto the pitch, especially from the supporter group. I never likes that. But what I love about this situation was that Sarver enjoyed that moment so much that he literally picked up a beer can and went full Stone Cold Steve Austin mode in terms of chucking down the beer. I mean, that is just such a legendary moment there. Probably one of the best celebration I would say. And obviously, I don't know if he's gonna get a fine for this because obviously, when you're consuming alcohol during a match, that's probably not the best message you want to send to youngsters that's playing in this game. But hey, I don't care. I mean, honestly, that's just such a legendary performance that it kind of almost made me forgot that the Quakes just conceded and that it was because of bad defensive play. I'm obviously never going to be mad at a player when he does this celebration like that. It just makes this league very cool, and I especially would not be mad when Sam Sarver score the late winner like that, even if it's against my team. Because as I said, even before this moment, I really love Sam Sarver. I love the energy that he brings to the game, and he's a good player that not only is a very hardworking player, but he is a guy that just feels like he has unlimited battery when it comes to come off the bench. Like when he comes off the bench, you better get out of the way because he's gonna when he does get the ball, he's gonna go beast mode every single time. But yeah, in the end, Dallas does get the 3-2 win. The shots in this one, 16 shots for both of these teams, 7 shots on goal for the 10 that Dallas had, 1 shot that's off target with the 5 that the Quakes had, 3 shots that was blocked with the 5 that Dallas had, and possession wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Dallas has in this one. And yeah, huge win for Dallas in this one. They're really rising up the standings, but for the Quakes, as I said, they desperately needed this World Cup break. The only good news I would say is that at least they won't go anywhere lower than second place because they pick up so many points at the beginning of the season and they kind of run away a little bit compared to the rest of the team, and also the team around them keep losing games. They still have a pretty good gap where even if they lose against the Portland Timbers on the road, they still won't finish no lower than second place. But there is definitely a lot of concern for Bruce Arena's side. I mean, I've said it before with the depth. That is a huge concern with this team. This team desperately need both Timo Werner or Nico Chukaris back, and we don't know if either of those guys. Well, actually, one of them is going to be back. Timo Werner is going to be back. Chukaris won't be back until September. This is where I'm going to repeat what I said last time after that loss against Seattle. If this team is serious about competing, and this team is serious, maybe even compete for the Supporter Shield, they need reinforcement badly. And I know recently they've just made a signing by bringing this guy from the USL Championship that is Darius Johnson. And while that's definitely a good piece for the depth, it's not enough. I think they need to have more depth and maybe even on the defensive end as well, because lately this is kind of concerning to see the defense has started to go back to last season form. I mean that when it goes back to last season form or even the season before where this team has always been mere with defensive issue. Yeah, it's no wonder why this team has started to lose games that in the beginning of the season we don't see this team lose games like this and especially concede goals like this. Now, moving on into the next game, as I spent a lot of time talking about that one, I do apologize by that. But I gotta spend a couple minutes talking about Sam Sarver, so you can't blame me for that. Anyway, let's now talk about the Sunday game, starting off with Inter Miami versus the Portland Timbers, and it finally happened. The curse is finally over. Inter Miami finally won a game at New Stadium, and they can probably thank their own head coach for the reason why they finally win their first ever game at New Stadium. Now, in the first half, the first draw of the game did see Pantemis deny Messi on the doorstep of goal. Miami was definitely on the front foot as they pressed for the opener. Dane Sinclair denied Bassett, but it did recycle, and it actually went back to Bassett there. He had a chance to tap that one in from 8 yards out, and he missed it. So, yeah, that was a huge miss opportunity. And this is the thing, the Timbers, even though they got into this game and have been able to cut through that vulnerable Miami defense, you got to put away your chances because if you don't put it away, Miami is going to do so. Pantemis then denied Suarez from close before Frey looked like he scored the opening goal of the game. Problem was he was offside, so the goal, of course, was chopped off. Pantemis then denied Frey from close in the 19th minute as Miami was just pounding on the door. They really want to get themselves the opener, but the question is, can they solve Pantemis? Because Pantemis up to this point was just lights out. He was definitely standing on his head to keep this 0-0 as long as possible. Segovia would then puts it wide from long range, but then the 31st minute, you know this is going to happen. As much as Pantemis has tried his best to stand on his head, when you have to face the go, yeah, more times than not, you're not gonna deny him scoring. So the go himself score here from Segovia and Suarez to make it 1-0 in favor of Miami. Messi himself then looked for another, but he missed one in the 39th minute. But then the 42nd minute, Miami doubled their lead as Bentarame would score from Messi to make it 2-0 in favor of Miami. But this is all Messi here. We've seen this so many times throughout his career where he just went beast mode. There's a reason why I always say when I see a player take on the entire back line, I basically say that they pretty much went vintage Messi see there because that's a very messy thing to do where you just take on the entire back line and just kind of cut open them without a sweat, and that's exactly what happened. He just completely cut open and at least and get by at least 4 or 5 Timbers player. Only himself that can do this on such a regular plays and in an ease as well. And he just played a perfect football to Bertarame. And as much as Bertarame has had a struggle this season, at least this time he was able to bury it. And yeah, just like that, it's 2-0 in favor of Miami heading into the second half. And you're wondering, is this finally the time that they can hold on to the lead? Because I'm pretty sure every Miami fans will be happy that they're up 2-0, but every Miami fan know that this game is far from over because they've seen this story before where they're up at halftime with a 2-goal deficit or a 2-goal lead that is. I mean, it might as well feel like a deficit where every time they take the lead or take multiple lead, they have a way of throwing those leads away. But in the second half, Anthony would puts it high from the corner before Valde puts it high from long range as the Timbers definitely getting the chance early, looking to try to get one back. And this is where if you're a Miami fan, you're thinking, oh boy, here we go. Is this gonna happen? Then soon where the Timbers gonna get one back and now things are gonna turn pear shaped. Segovia would then puts it high from close range before Dane Sinclair denied Valde from long range. DePaul then had a shot that was deflected and goes right to Pantemis before Messi had a shot that was deflected wide as Miami was pressing for the third and maybe put this game out of reach. And I put maybe in a big quotation mark because we all know that even a 3-0 lead is not safe by this team, especially at home. Messi then crossed it just wide in the 70th minute before Pinter was in on goal there, but he hits it right to Pentemis there. I mean, I'm pretty sure Pinter his eyes must have lit up when he was in on goal there. Looked like he finally had a chance to score his first career MLS goal. Didn't quite happen in that moment. But I also thought that the fatigue started to kind of slow both of these teams down. Keep in mind, it was a very hot night in Miami. Usually, this is kind of the time of the year where when you go on the road and play against Inter Miami, you have to deal with the heat and the humidity, and that can really slow any team down, especially when you're playing your third game in 7 days. But that's kind of good news for Inter Miami because now, because of the pace being slowed down, that maybe is what Miami needs to do to just not make sure chaos happen because that's been the problem for Inter Miami. They haven't slowed the game down, haven't taken control of the game. They let their opposition in the game and let them multiple chances to come back from the game, and that's why to this day, up to this point, they haven't won a game at New Stadium. Valde would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair before Anthony had a header that was denied by Dane Sinclair as the Timber once again pressed to try to get a goal back. Pantemis would then deny Penter from close range in the 89th minute. But for once, Inter Miami actually hold on to the lead. And for once, they kept a clean sheet. It's only the second time this season that they kept a clean sheet. And remember how I said that they can thank their old head coach for finally getting their first win? Not quite sure if Phil Neville maybe was a double agent here. He must have felt bad that Inter Miami didn't get a chance to get a win at home. So he was very kind to finally hand Inter Miami their first ever win at New Stadium, and probably one of the more complete performance that Inter Miami has. Yes, they still had some shaky moment in the second half, but it's not as bad as what we see seen before, where they were just being cut wide open left, right, and center and give up tons of dangerous chances. But the shots in this one, 22 shots for the 16 that the Timbers had, 4 shots on goal for the 9 that Miami has, 9 shots off target for the 4 that the Timbers had, 7 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Miami has. And as much as the Timbers unfortunately get the undubious honor of becoming the first ever team to lose at New Stadium and hand Inter Miami their first win at New Stadium, you kind of had a sense it was gonna gonna happen. I mean, I feel like if it wasn't gonna happen in this game, it probably can happen in the next game because the next game they play against a Philadelphia Union team that is dead last right now in the supporter or yeah, they're dead last in the supporter shield race and they're leading the Witherspoon race. So that might have been the game that they finally could get their first win. But against a tired Timber side that remember they have traveled all the way across the other side of the country to play against Montreal on a short week, and then they have to travel down south play against Miami. That is a brutal road trip that the Timbers had to deal with, and the fact that they come out with 4 points. I mean, if you're a Timbers fan, looking how this season has gone, you take that. I mean, you take that any day. You can in terms of getting those four crucial points that is to return home because it's not going to be every day you're going to have to face that kind of a brutal road trip where you have to go on the East Coast and play two Eastern Conference opponents in a span of just 3 days. Now, moving on into the last game on this board. The last game we're going to talk about is Nashville and LAFC. So as I mentioned, this feels like it could be a preview of MLS Cup as both of these teams seems like they might be there by the time December has come. And if that is the case, I want this to be an MLS Cup game because this was a very fun game, very back and forth as well at times. In the first half, Shrinier would miss wide from close range before Kawaki denied some from close range as LAFC definitely were on the front foot early trying to get the opener. In fact, they were leading the shots 5-0 just 12 minutes in. So you can clearly see they mean business early in this one. But unfortunately, when you face against Nashville, and this is the same thing I said about Miami at times, you got to put away your chances because Nashville will eventually get their chances and they put away. In fact, on the first chance that Nashville get, it's in the back of the net as Hani Mukhtar. He scored from Madrigal to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. Little did we know that, yeah, Hani Mukhtar definitely stole the show in this big show that we have between two really good team. And like I said, it's the first shot of the game for Nashville and just completely against the run of play because LAFC was the better team up to this point. SB knows that then look for another, but he hits it right to Hasal. By the way, Lloris wasn't available in this game because he I think pulled something before the game, so they brought back their backup goalkeeper Thomas Hasal in this one. But in the 21st minute, Mukhtar would score again, and this time it's coming from a free kick, and it's a huge milestone as well. That is the 100th MLS goal that Hani Mukhtar has scored. They didn't actually show the graphics of how fast he got to it. It has kind of taken him more times than you think he is because he did had some down years before, but nevertheless, what a fantastic big career it's been for Hani Mukhtar in MLS and certainly with Nashville SC scoring his 100th MLS goal and did it in style as well on the free kick. I mean, you couldn't do it in a much better way in terms of scoring a free kick to finally surpass the milestone of scoring your 100th MLS goal. But before Mukhtar had a chance to celebrate, and this Nashville fans had a chance to celebrate that milestone, LAFC quickly spoiled the party because in the 22nd minute, Martinez would score from Bawanga and Tillman to pull within one for LAFC, and yeah, Nashville just completely switched off. How many times I said it's the cardinal sin when you just score, you are always the most vulnerable, and you have to be careful not to switch off when the other team trying to go at you. And Nashville didn't get that memo, and they got punished as a result. Martinez then looked for another, but he hits it right to Schwalke before Schwalke denied Bawanga from close in the 26th minute. And just like that, LAFC, they got the momentum back. Now they're looking to try to press for the equalizer. Schwalke denied Tillman after Nashville turned the ball over in a bad spot before Bawanga had a shot that was deflected and goes high. And then Song would have a shot that was deflected and goes right to Schwalke. It was pretty clear to say that Nashville, they were dying for the halftime whistle because they were really reeling up to this point. But luckily for them, they were able to head to halftime, still have the 2-1 lead. In the second half, Madrigal would miss hits one so badly that it actually ends up to be a throw in. Actually, he didn't even go behind for a throw in. I think one of the LAFC player actually got it before it crossed the line for a throw in. Bawanga would then cross one to the stands in the 50th minute, but then the 60th minute, Mukhtar would score again. And guess what? It's a copy and paste of what we saw in the second goal that he scored from the free kick to complete a hat trick. So what a game it has to be for Mukhtar. Not only scoring his 100 MLS goal in style on a free kick, now he completes the hat trick in style from the free kick. I mean, you just couldn't ask for a better night from the Nashville maestro here. And just like that, it's 3-1 in favor of Nashville. But every time Nashville got that two goal lead, LAFC quickly responds because in the 68th minute, Bawanga would score from Song to make it 3-2 in this one, and Nashville Achilles heel strikes again. Or as should I say, old Achilles heel, because they have gone a little bit better defending corners lately. They for a while this team has always been a bad at defending corner, especially under Gary Smith, which I kind of find ironic because they've been so good in terms of scoring from corner. It's just that the other way when they're defending it, not so great. But yeah, here they didn't do a good job defending the corner, and yeah, they paid the price as a result. It's now 3-2 in this one. Portress then hits it high from close in the 70th minute, or from the corner, that is, before Rocky denied Song on the curler in the 73rd minute. Momentum was back with LAFC, and Nashville, once again, they're started reeling a bit. So, as a result, because of the fact that they start reeling a bit, I think BJ Cowan probably saw this and realized that, you know what? It's time to go back to old ways. It's time to bring back the low block that we've seen Gary Smith's side always tends to do late in the games of just trying to see things out and trying to just completely shut down the opposition. And I mentioned before, when you are trying to face against that Nashville low block, especially during the Gary Smith day, good luck trying to create chances because that low block is very effective, especially led by their captain Walker Zimmerman, who's no longer on this team. But even then it still was very effective because LAFC didn't really create it too much because of that low block. It also doesn't help the fact that, again, that's been one of the biggest weaknesses for LAFC. They are not a team that likes to break down a low block. They do struggle against that. Though Schwalke did have to make a save here in the 89th minute to deny Holland's head from close range. But yeah, in the end, Nashville gets the big 3-2 win in this one. And this is right, the fact that they got outshot badly in this one. 22 shots for the 8 that Nashville has. 9 shots on goal for the 4 that Nashville has. No shots off target compared to the 5 that LAFC had. 8 shots was blocked for the 2 that Nashville has. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that LAFC has. And I argue this is probably one of the better games that LAFC has recently played during this winless run. I mean, it's safe to say that this has not been a great time to be an LAFC fan in terms of seeing this team has really kind of fall off the map in these last couple of weeks. But this was actually one of their better performances. The problem is they weren't being clinical, and they just happened to catch Hani Mukhtar that decided that, yeah, not only going to break some milestone in this one, but I'm going to get a hat trick and return to my MVP form that I had back in 2021. And when you run into an MVP form, Hani Mukhtar, more times than not, you're not going to come out now on the winning side, and that's exactly what happened in this one. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all of these 7 games to finish off the review of match week number 14, if I'm not mistaken, or 13. That is, I think it's actually 14, that is. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 7 games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.